Welcome in to the latest episode, or actually the first episode on the Betting the Pitch channel that actually discusses Major League Baseball. But there's some complications with getting podcasts out elsewhere, so I'm just doing it all myself, one man band, and maybe that's gonna be good for us because we got a big set of games, 4 games, all starting on Saturday, October 4th. Happy birthday, Mary Gabriel, by the way. Doubt you're listening or paying attention, but you've been very sweet to me in your life, and I know it's your birthday, and for some reason I'll never forget it. October 4th. Shout out to Mary. We're gonna go through each of the games on Saturday, October 4th in Major League Baseball. We're also gonna talk about series prices. I feel like why not do it all together, or at least you can hear all my the dangers behind this brain. If you're looking for plays and official ones, they all come out on patreon.com/real_G Warner. And of course, you'll see a ton of soccer stuff. That's why I'm doing this late night with real_G Warner. This time in a baseball jersey, though, as opposed to a soccer one. So hopefully less yawns. Hopefully also less lawns because it'd be a long way down from my balcony to hit one. So let's not have that happen. But we're going to discuss the Major League Baseball playoffs and try to find some winners. So let's do that. So, first, we're going to start with, I guess, we're just going to go in game order. I'll give you a series price plus where our pitchers are at right now and try to get an idea of kind of how we're feeling or how I'm feeling heading into these playoff series. Round one was a little bit complicated, had a really bad first day, and that kind of set off the futures to a bad start. Day two was great, besides a Red Sox collapse. Ended up winning 1 out of 3 in the first day, 2 out of 3 the second day, and then just let the futures ride. And unfortunately, neither of the futures came through. Both positive expected value bets, though, took plus money on underdogs. The only ones that didn't, or I guess all favorites advanced. So that was especially tough for someone like me. But liked where I was, and I'll get into the series that I guess grade them all when I talk about who's advanced to playing on Saturday, the 4th of October, the year of our Lord 2025. So, Chicago Cubs, they are visiting the Milwaukee Brewers. Can put it this way, there was a lot for me riding on the Brewers this season. Watched almost all their games, maybe 150 or so. Did a pretty good job of that all year. It was a really rough start, getting swept in the Bronx in Yankee Stadium against the Torpedo Bats and that sensation that was all happening. And I guess I could have worn some Brewers gear, but I think I'm saving that for the next pregame.com podcast that I do. With that said, I'll get into the number now, and then I'll just work my way through both sides. So the Brewers, Freddie Peralta starting game one, always expected. Probably is the heart and soul of the Brewers team, and I do think that that's a good thing for the Brewers for him to start game one, but also means if he doesn't have a great time on the mound, that could be fairly problematic. So the Cubs are throwing Matthew Boyd, left-handed pitcher, Freddie Peralta, righty. Right now, the Brewers are minus 148. Prices moved 2 cents each direction so far since I've been tracking it. Total in this one is 7, juiced all the way to over. So we've seen really small totals so far in this playoffs, and I mean the bullpens have been great. Hitting in clutch situations has been poor, which I think we'll expect for most of the playoffs. Um, but there's also a sickness. It hasn't really impacted the Chicago Cubs because I thought Craig Counsell, former Brewers manager, so there's some drama there, of course, in this series, as there is every time. But Craig Counsell, despite having pretty limited pitching in his first series, and you could argue limited bullpen too, he didn't go nuts. He's not a sex addict that had a bullpen that or wasn't a in the sex addict example. The bullpen addict was Mike Schilt, was Stephen Vogt. Unfortunately, both of the futures that I played, and you could argue Alex Cora too from the Red Sox. None of those moved through, and I think the common theme was they didn't get enough hits to win, and so they panicked and panic managed and took out relievers or starters way too early and basically killed their bullpens and made it so. Unfortunately, the late runs that they surrendered, they might not have if they had their better arms that hadn't worked for 47 pitches. For example, Garrett Whitlock in the Red Sox loss in Game 2 in the Bronx. Um, Cubs were fortunate to advance, I thought. Didn't really hit much. Started the year off really well and then got pretty cold. Slash, their studs got hurt in the case of Kyle Tucker and figured out in the case of youngster Pete Crow Armstrong. He was horrible, and it's like hitting so low in that lineup. But one interesting thing, because the Cubs were, I mean, big favorites to win the Central. The Brewers ended up taking that down. So that's why we were following the Brewers so closely on the podcast with Munaf pregame, is because we both had picked the Brewers to go and win the division. And that was a very nice score for me. And I'm going to be forever thankful to the 2025 Brewers, pocket pancakes and all. The Cubs were the favorite. They were way ahead. They blasted the Brewers the first series, I believe, in Milwaukee, and then weren't able to keep it up. And now they're a pretty hefty underdog, and big enough price where I could only consider the Cubs in game one. Series price, Brewers are minus 120, which is pretty small compared to a minus 148 first game one starting pitcher matchup. So that tells me there's a lot of faith in the Cubs in future games. So if they can get the first one, then that's a big, big problem for the Brewers. You could argue that, I mean, Major League Baseball playoffs, since they added teams and made it a six-team playoff in each league, it's been dominated by game one winners in the wild card round. And that it's not really different here besides the Yankees coming back from the dead, but we hadn't even seen game threes before. It'd all been sweeps. It seems like forever and ever and ever. The Cubs won game one, lost game two, got shut out, really had no prayer. Craig Counsell was pretty negative in a sideline or dugout interview during game three, where he said, yeah, we didn't even test them at all. And I think that's unfortunately how the Brewers, or excuse me, how the Cubs have really functioned the last half of the season. Now, the Brewers, they've been hottest team in baseball, best record in baseball, were honestly incredible how they played. And I guess the difference is they started. Here are the odds. It's late night with the real underscore G Warner. Get me on Patreon, patreon.com/real underscore G Warner. If you want to leave a 5-star review for betting the pitch, the Forever Sports All Sports Edition, but the debut of the Major League Baseball for 2025. You know, better late than never, I guess. But go hit 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Subscribe to YouTube at the real underscore G Warner. Same thing on Instagram if you want the reels, just like the shorts, they come out there, as well as the full length episodes on YouTube. So that might be a little bit better. And we have 203 subscribers right now, and I shout that in every episode because each one we seem to get more. And got a long way to go until ad starts. You got plenty of time. Don't worry about that. With that said, so the Brewers hit the ball really well, but they've got problems in their bullpen. The Cubs showed their hand, if you will. They opened the Komodo, as one of my coworkers used to say all the time, which is pretty disgusting, but I guess that's what some people say in the investment banking world. Anyway, the Cubs basically used their 101 mile an hour throwing closer, Danny Palencia, as their high leverage guy, could come in the fifth inning, wherever he was needed, he was putting out fires. We have not seen that from the Brewers, really, though they were trying to get Trevor McGill, the normal spelling of the McGill brothers, their former closer, who was lights out for a lot of the season, but then hit the IL towards the end of the year. And that pushed the Brewers up the totem pole in their bullpen. And unfortunately, Jared Koenig as an eighth or ninth inning guy is not the same as he was in the sixth or seventh or eighth. Abner Uribe was great and was honestly huge for the Brewers, but not having him in the eighth and leaving him till the ninth ended up being problematic because, to me, the most valuable reliever is the high leverage one that can go in any inning. You shouldn't have to wait, or you shouldn't be waiting for the save opportunity in the ninth. I think if you go pound for pound, the Brewers bullpen is still solid, but it was not as strong down the stretch. And we'll see, because unfortunately Tyler McGill didn't work very much. So, or Trevor McGill, excuse me. I'm going to do that a million times probably. But I don't know that, like, it's impossible to say he's on the same wavelength level that he was earlier in the season. So that's a concern for me entering this series, especially as the favorite, though at home with more home games. So there's actually some travel days involved in this series. Best of five. So it's not as drastic if you lose game one, but that's still kind of a problem. Clearly, everyone probably knows that, but just saying. Let me see if I can get this roster resource page up. So what Roster Resource has, who's honestly one of the best websites, one of the things that I'm so happy I found after many years of searching for lineups and accurate ones and all that sort of stuff, all on the same page. Part of Fangraphs, they bought it recently, but awesome, and I'm a huge fan. So I don't know that they've really shortened everything into. Well, they do have probable pitchers, so it looks like Freddie Peralta game one, Quinn Priester game two, who has had an incredible record this year, was pretty much. I don't think he lost a decision his last 15 starts, which is incredible. And it might have been wins in all of them until the last one, which they came back to win later. The problem is after that, and I think this is why we see the Brewers only minus 120 after a minus 148 in the opener, is you look at the other pitchers behind. I mean, Chad Patrick, great. I mean, all these guys had great seasons, the best record in baseball. That's going to happen. But Chad Patrick is okay. There are questions about Quinn Priester, who is awesome and probably shouldn't be questioned based on his record this year, but pitcher wins are not the favorite thing in the year of our Lord 2025. Jacob Mizorowski is not the same after he came back from the IL. Throws so hard, but I don't know that he's consistent enough. And yeah, the 102 looks great, but then it starts at 102, and then it's 98 pretty quickly. And I just really don't love that setup going into the playoffs. He's so wild, and you can't walk people in the Major League Baseball playoffs because that's gonna get the bullpen going and get these bullpen addicts to go out there and shoot their load, if you will. Unfortunately, it's gross, but the it's kind of relevant and explains the situation a little bit. These bullpen sex addicts, that's what I'm just going to call them. I guess that's what I'm saying for now. BSAs for short. And then Robert Gosser, who came up, I think was just eating out towards the end of the year, but I guess maybe we haven't finalized rosters yet. So Abner Uribe and Trevor McGill listed as dual closers. They both worked on Sunday. Koenig before them. And Aaron Ashby, who's got a great left arm. He's more of a long lefty. Though they have Rob Zastryzny as well, Scrabble, I think they called him in the past. Jared Koenig's the lefty I already mentioned. Nick Mears was awesome for the first 4 months of the season, but got hurt and then really was not as effective. So he's a concern. Grant Anderson, big prospect in the past, never really made it into much. Same can be said for DL Hall. So to me, there's a lot of average pitching in the Brewers bullpen and specifically in that rotation behind Freddie Peralta and Quinn Priester. You could argue similar situations here for the Cubs, but that's certainly something to think about. But before I navigate off the Brewers page in the background, I want to talk about really the lineup. So Christian Yelich, who's dealt with back injuries his whole career, MVP in the past, has been awesome. But I do wonder how healthy he is right now. Jackson Churio came back from a hamstring injury. He hadn't been running really fast. Bryce Terang was the hottest hitter in baseball for a month, one player of the month. I think didn't get elected the All-Star game, which is a joke. But William Contreras was great all year playing with a broken finger, missed like barely took days off, even day games after night games. Sal Frelick, awesome defender, hit very well this year. Andrew Vaughn was when the team was kind of teeter tottering a little bit, kind of coughing up a lead, and Reese Hoskins on the IL. They traded for Andrew Vaughn. He was an MVP candidate for the Brewers in small spurts. Um, Caleb Durbin was great. Joey Ortiz had his ups and downs, but great defender and helps. And defense matters more than anything in baseball these days, I feel. Isaac Collins also could potentially win Rookie of the Year and might deserve it because of how well the team played. Um, but this is a small budget club, and comparing them to um, the Cubs is difficult because of such a big budget, and that's certainly something that matters and impacted things at the trade deadline. It's kind of amazing to me that the Brewers held on, but I'm very thankful for it. That 3-1 odds was certainly very useful. Right as the football and soccer seasons really cooked into gear. So Cubs roster resource lists the same pitchers that they had. Matthew Boyd going to game one. Shota Imanaga was the game two pitcher and kind of bulk reliever, though that I think a lot was because the first inning was going to be a lot of right-handed hitters from the San Diego Padres, and they didn't seem to care about spacing out their lineup. They went righty heavies and then lefty heavies, three lefties in a row, and I think those are big mistakes. But hindsight is, of course, 2020. Jameson Taillon had been really hot entering the playoffs, finished the season really well. I thought threw very well against the Padres in Game 3. We'll see about availability when these guys will all pitch. But pretty much from the Tuesday opener. That's when Boyd pitched. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So Saturday is pretty short rest. 3 days rest. That's, I guess, a normal potential workload in Major League Baseball playoffs, but certainly not in the regular season. And they have Shota projected to pitch in Game 3. So Game 2 sounds like a bullpen game, which is very interesting, and we'll see if ends up sticking. Um, we had Shota Imanaga pitching in bulk relief. He's a concern for me because he can't keep the ball in the yard, I don't think. Wrigley has been a great place to pitch for pitchers like that, so that might be why they're starting him there because it's hard to hit home runs. And Brewers Park is definitely a hitter's park, or has been, and probably will be with the roof open and such, as the weather should be better. Those are good days for the ball to fly. I can't. So Jameson Tyone won't be starting. Um, there's a good possibility Colin Ray is chosen. He was really good in a Brewers uniform last season. Certainly had his 4 days, but I think was a huge reason that the Brewers won the NL Central Division last season as well. And then we saw the bullpen looked, I mean, besides the struggles, I guess, that Brad Keller had on Thursday, throwing 37 pitches, and you could argue that was part of it. But Cubs bullpen was really good in the series. You could argue the Padres hadn't hit anywhere worth a lick compared to the Brewers this season. But the Cubs did win the division, or the season series with the Brewers, and I was really worried they're going to end up tied, and the Cubs would get the division tiebreaker, and that would have ruined my bet. But fortunately, it didn't. Um, I think when I look at the bullpen of Palencia, I like his usage where you can go anywhere. That might be what happens with Abner Uribe because he's been there doing that type of role all season. And to me, the ninth inning outs, yes, they're the most vital at the end, but they're not as important as the outs in the seventh or eighth. And you want to use your best pitchers when you have that opportunity. So, um, if the Brewers end up going with this kind of strategy, use your best reliever, Abner Uribe, in the highest leverage situations, that's certainly beneficial to them. And having Trevor McGill, whether he's 100% or at least healthy enough, but is still working his way back into form, that might be enough of an extra arm there that really makes a difference in this series. Uh, I do think there's some value in fading the Brewers based on, but I think I want the series price to be bigger on the Cubs. Of course, giving a game away, though, crowd will certainly be filled with Cubs fans, even in Milwaukee. That's going to be something Milwaukee has been trying to stop for years and years and years, and it has never happened. So I wouldn't expect it to now. Even money, probably not enough for me to get involved in the Cubs, but that would be my interest in that series. In Game 1, I think there's some value in Freddie Peralta. Now, when Matthew Boyd goes as a lefty, that's going to be, I don't know that it's going to neutralize Christian Yelich, but that's certainly not limits him because lefty versus lefty is so much more dominant than righty versus righty. Um, Peralta lining up against the Cubs order. Michael Busch has been really good in the leadoff spot as a left-handed hitter. Nico Horner's been hotter than anything. Ian Happ's been hit or miss all season, a lot of miss, of course, but great defender. Kyle Tucker, he's a lefty, and that matches up well with Peralta. Seiya Suzuki's been very hot. He is power rank number 2 in the last 7 days, according to Roster Resource. I'm not sure what that means, but Carson Kelly had a big home run in that first game, comeback win. Pete Crow Armstrong, he'll play against a righty at least. We know that he's a good defender, so that helps. Dansby Swanson probably saved the series with his defense against the Padres. Was incredible in keeping a deficit as low as possible, and Matt Shaw is defensively one of the best as well. So, I mean, there's that's one thing we know. Both these teams are good defensively. The Cubs are, I think, elite, best in the league, and that's going to be something that might play into this series, especially if it goes all 5 games. Cubs probably don't want that. They probably want to end it at Wrigley. Brewers are, I'm sure, going to be happy to play a 5th game in Milwaukee. But based on where this price is, Freddie Peralta, Price is large on him in game one. So the Cubs, I think, is my biggest interest, and I think I like that more than the series price at even money current prices at Bet Online. Of course, shop around, find your best price possible. And if you want, I've pretty much got an account at every site. If you want a referral to get some extra money when you sign up, please let me know at the real underscore G Warner across any social media platform. That's Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you find it. Hit me up and I'll try to reply. We'll move now to the New York Yankees. Luis Heel visiting the Toronto Blue Jays as I wear a Blue Jays jersey, Vladdy Guerrero jersey live. If you're watching us on video, I appreciate that. Sorry for my looks. I can't do much born this way. Yankees currently minus 147 to take the series on Bet Online. Blue Jays plus 127, tied during the regular season, but the Blue Jays ended up getting they won the season series. It was not close. A lot based on sweeping the Yankees over Canada Day and the 4th of July. Um, but the Blue Jays were pretty dominant against the Yankees this season, in my humble opinion, especially as an underdog. I think every game in that 4th of July series, or July 2nd, July 5th, it seemed to me. In game one, Luis Gil, a plus 113 underdog on the road at Kevin Gausman. Total is 8, juiced more to the under by about 6 cents. So Gausman was really good this year. He's been up and down in his career, of course, and his fastball splitter combo. That's, I think, a lot similar to what Nick Pivetta was using against the Cubs. Fortunately, that was not the Yankees. So I don't really want that type of same thing. Basically, throw the ball up, fastball up, and then split. And then if you throw a fastball down, people think it's a splitter, and it's not. Um, I'm a little surprised the Yankees are priced at this steep of a number to advance, considering they don't have home field advantage and lost the season series. There is the certain advantage that they got to play, and the Cubs also have that advantage too, as they've already won a series where, unfortunately, inter squad scrimmages are not a great thing to be doing, and especially when the Brewers are the lower budget team. You could argue that with the Blue Jays as well. Yankees, they're listed starters will be after Heel, who did not pitch in the division series. It'll be Max Fried in game two, Carlos Rodon in game three, and Schlittler will probably come back in game four if necessary. Schlittler is awesome, and I really like him. And he pitched long enough at the big league level that I think it's a good thing for him that he's I mean, playoff starts are different, but he's got one under his belt as well. And honestly, Carlos Rodon was a gigantic favorite, did not deserve it, and probably I thought should have lost against the Red Sox, and the Red Sox should be playing the series. But the Yankees are here, and Luis Gil is awesome. So his limitations is based on just not starting the year on time due to injury, and then took him a little while to get up to speed. But he's really good at missing bats, and that's a scary thing. Walks are a problem, but he doesn't really give up hits, so doesn't get punished too much for that. And the Blue Jays are a different team because they basically played the year putting the ball in play, which is very non 2025. It's very, I think the last time they won was 93, Joe Carter, if I remember correctly. It's been a while. But I think the difficulty for me in the game one number is that the Blue Jays are a favorite minus 124 at Bet Online currently as we're recording this, but they are pretty steep underdog for the series. So the difference between those two things is I just want to make sure I'm still. Hey, Joseph Tampion, thank you for coming in. I've been following you forever. How do you do all this and work a day job? LOL. Yeah, it's really tough. You can see under my eyes. I don't sleep very often, but it's all worth it because eventually it's going to take me to the promised land, Joseph. But thank you for coming in. I imagine you've been with me forever than you're a YouTube subscriber, but thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And thanks for sticking around. If you got any more questions, feel free to throw them in here. But yeah, sleepers for the week. I'm also someone that doesn't sleep very well, so it makes it pretty easy for me not to sleep. I'm not going to say I'm the prime minister of no sleep, team no sleep, because that's been badly used and abused in the past on gambling channels, Twitter and such. But yeah, it's a run, baby. But soon, maybe someday we'll have no day job and just live off our investments. That's what we're really hoping for. Anyway, back to the Yankees and the Jays. Thanks for. I guess we're making this conversational because it's super late, and I was supposed to go out tonight, but didn't make it to karaoke because I'm with you guys. That's what I'm here for. You all, you people. Who are you people? I don't know. But Joseph, thanks for coming along. Um, so back to the Yankees and kind of breaking down this first matchup. So I do like Kevin Gausman to get a win. I don't know that I want to pay minus 124 for it, so I'm gonna be waiting to see if the Yankees money comes in. But I'm pretty tempted by the Blue Jays series odds. I picked them in my bracket, but that was a lot because I wasn't sure the Yankees would emerge from the Red Sox. And when in doubt, pick who's ever waiting in the wings. Though that's not really worked in the baseball playoffs in the past. So that's a thing. Luis Gil and Kevin Gausman will probably have a really great pitching duel. And what also I think we need to get to is the bullpens because the Yankees did a great job at the trade deadline acquiring big names of really talented pitchers. Camilo Duvall, it's amazing to me he didn't work at all in the division series. He has an awesome arm, but he has real control problems to the point where all these people that follow a lot of baseball, they have absolutely no idea that slider is his best pitch. That's what he throws for strikes. And when he tries to throw fastballs in 3-0 counts and or throws a slider in a 3-0 count, and the broadcasters go nuts, it's because they don't follow the sport like I do or anyone who actually follows these players because they're usually retired players that have absolutely no idea. And especially from a gambling lens, they have no clue. And it's amazing how many losers are doled out with these gambling companies that are also, I'm amazed they're still alive, but that's why they also ban people and reduce their limits to $3 per game because they're so easy to beat. But that's neither here nor there, especially because I live in Texas and we're never going to legalize gambling. Um, but to that end, the Yankees bullpen has big names that have not performed. The Blue Jays bullpen does not have big names, but they have performed. Maybe in the playoffs that will change, and playoffs are a different game. Bullpens are really hard to project, and bullpens, honestly, like going back to the Texas Rangers when they won the World Series a few years ago, bullpens have just overperformed and been very good, and I think we expect that to happen again. Jeff Hoffman had really dominant times against the Yankees this season. Also had blown saves and losses in the ninth inning. I liked the acquisition of Sir Anthony Dominguez. He's got a great arm. We'll see how wild he is. Gabriel Rodriguez is great this season, but is a concern for me in the playoffs when the lights are brightest. I loved Louis Varland. I think he was a great addition from the Twins, and there's a lot to this pen. Longman Eric Lauer has been good. I'm a little worried about him throwing a lot of fastballs to a righty and home run power potent heavy Yankees lineup. But to the Yankees' perspective or point of view, they've got a really questionable bullpen, and their defense is one of the worst in baseball. It looked fine in the wild card series, but the Red Sox didn't put that much pressure on them. They should have put more balls in play to see what happens, and that's exactly what the Blue Jays are going to do. So, to me, the matchup, the more I talk about it, and this is why I'm recording and why I'm taking so long. We only have 4 games to discuss and 4 series, but here we are, already a bunch of minutes in. With all that said, I think to me the Jays are a really tough matchup for the Yankees, and they're an underdog with home field advantage. That's really tough for me to look away from, even though I don't think that Bo Bichette's going to be back for this series. That would be awesome if he was. Don't sprain knee from the 6th of November. Probably not. Let me do a quick little search. Bo Bichette returning for playoffs. Let's see what they say. Okay. Bichette's status for spot on Blue Jays ALDS roster still up in air, according to Sportsnet.ca. Don't love the idea that he's coming back. Because that sounds like a lot of rust. Because he's probably not played at all. I mean, hasn't returned to the majors, of course, and whatever he's doing otherwise is a concern. In terms of the rotation, love Gosman. Shane Bieber's great. Max Scherzer's a huge concern for me, and Trey Savage has literally just come up to the minors. So those are all. That's where some problems are. The Yankees. I guess if we're breaking this down as objectively as possible, because that's what we do on the Betting Pitch Podcast Network. Yankees have the better rotation, more power in their lineup. Blue Jays have, I think, a more trustworthy bullpen without the names. They'll play better defense and they'll put the ball in play and test the Yankees at their weakest point besides their bullpen. That's their defense, especially in the infield. And running on Judge all day because he cannot throw. Because I'm pretty sure he'll get Tommy John during the offseason, is my guess. It does feel like, I mean, I want underdogs in the Major League Baseball playoffs. It didn't work great in the first round, but I know this gambler's fallacy, but this is going to be good for the future, I think. This is going to be a really scrappy thing. We've got all of Canada rooting for the Jays against the Yankees. I don't know if that matters so much 'cause there'll certainly be Yankees fans in the Rogers Center, but plus 127 money line or plus 127 to advance for the Jays looks very interesting to me right now. And I'm curious. I expect Yankee money to hit all day tomorrow and really forever and ever every time they play. And of course, I am saying this in a Blue Jays jersey, but I actually didn't buy this gift from a friend, and I wasn't really a Vladdy Guerrero Jr. fan back then, but he's made me a lot of money this year, so I'm very thankful to him. Thank you, Vladdy. You're awesome. I love you forever. Now we'll move to the Dodgers and the Phillies. This is uh, heavyweight best series out there, possibly. I'm really looking forward to it, and the Dodgers as a rare underdog except when you look at the series price, minus 135 to advance. And that does, I think, take into consideration that they already played a series. They were a very slight underdog. Shohei Ohtani plus 104 at Christopher Sanchez in the opener in Philly. Total is seven, juice almost all the way to over. In terms of how the number has moved, of course, since the Dodgers swept, this number's been out for a while. Was as high as plus 114. I have it as low as plus 104, the current price. So we've seen steady Dodger money hitting. From a Phillies perspective, they have played these inter squads. They've had a ton of fans there, and I don't know that I'm giving a ton of home field advantage respect because there is something in the rules that matters when you play at home in Major League Baseball. But Phillies fans are, I think, maybe the only fan base that matters in this whole sport. Um, and Christopher Sanchez, I mean, if you ever want to find a motivated pitcher, he was left off the All Star roster this season, despite having an incredible first half, whole season, all that sort of stuff. And you know who got his spot or got some commissioner spot? Because Rob Manfred is an absolute joke. What a tool. Gave it to Clayton Kershaw, who seemed pretty cool in his live talking about throwing 89, saying he really got it up there because he's gassed and he's retiring at the end of the season. But I think there's a lot of motivation on Christopher Sanchez's side, and I love that for him. Shohei Ohtani has finally started to throw some length in his outings and looks a lot better. But there are problems in the Dodgers bullpen, and minus 135 is really expensive for their issues. Phillies come back plus 115. That's to me very interesting. And what we see here are, I mean, these two teams are mirror images. They're both power hitting teams. The Dodgers have all the starting pitching rotation you could ever ask for. So did the Phillies. Unfortunately, until Zach Wheeler got hurt. Aaron Nola has not been anywhere near the same level that he's been in years before, but he was always pretty average anyway. So I don't know that that's a huge loss, but he's not the same. The three starters that were projected in that first series was Snell, Yamamoto, Otani. The Japanese pitchers are awesome, but I do want to see. I do have some. I mean, you can argue Blake Snell. I mean, he's been very hot lately, but it doesn't take much for him to get wild. And Yamamoto Otani, I mean, they were trying to extend Yamamoto, and he just walked the world trying to throw over 100 pitches. I don't think he's going that deep in games, and I think that showed kind of some problems, some flaws. Because if Roki Sasaki is closing games for the Dodgers, that's not an arm I trust, especially coming off of injury in his rookie season, all that sort of stuff. Blake Trinan's been great, but he's 37 and missed a lot of time this year. Tanner Scott's blown more saves than anybody. Yes, the Dodgers were ahead a lot, but they also won nowhere near as many games because their bullpen was a joke. Alex Vesey, I think, is the best reliever. The rest of I mean, Emmett Sheehan could make a start or be in long relief. I guess that's where Tyler Glasnow is. I don't know how that's going to happen. I can't remember him pitching in relief ever, even in the Pittsburgh days. And they don't know how to manage anybody. I don't really like how this is all setting up. There's a lot of starting pitchers on this roster, but that's not really how you win in the playoffs. Yes, they could work 3 innings at a time, 2 innings at a time, and cut these things in half or however that goes. But I don't know how I feel about it. And we saw Michael Conforto inactive for the wild card series because he's not good. We didn't see any action from Will Smith because I don't think his hand situation is anywhere near healthy. He would be in there instead of Ben Rortvedt, who's an automatic out till playoff season apparently, or until the end of this year, until he got to the Dodgers. But Benny Biceps, I think, as they're calling him. He's not someone I'm afraid of. And Enrique Kike Hernandez has been awesome in the playoffs his whole career. I'll bet against that continuing. I just don't think it can. I will say, of course, top of the lineup: Otani, Betts, Freeman, terrifying. Max Muncy, it's been hurt all year. Not really that concerned. Teoscar Hernandez is good. Tommy Edman seems to have the clutch gene. Andy Paz, I think, has been one of the best players in baseball that no one talks about because there's five other spotlights outshining him. And those are all concerns for me, for sure, with the Dodgers. Now, we move to the Phillies. They've been rusty, and that's a concern for me. I do like the short favorite in the opener, though, because I already said that Christopher Sanchez has a ton of motivation, and I think that that does matter. Trey Turner, really great to see him return at the end of the season. I'm not sure how healthy he is, but any Trey Turner is valuable to the Phillies and to any Major League Baseball team. Kyle Schwarber, probably still the scariest home run hitter, home run threat in all of Major League Baseball, not named Shohei Ohtani. Bryce Harper, up there. Alex Bohm, he's going to keep the ball and he's going to put it in play. You need that on a team that strikes out as much as the Phillies do. And the rest of the guys are kind of, I think, all not not they are replaceable. They are not irreplaceable, if that makes sense. And I think the way this goes is you need those. You need the platoon players because I mean the Padres I think made some big mistakes against the Cubs, leaving the lefties in to get just eaten alive by lefties. And that's one thing about Rob Thompson, Canadian, as I wear a Blue Jays jersey. He seems to know his own way, kept the job when Joe Girardi got fired, and then went on a big run. And Sanchez to Luzardo to Suarez, all lefties, which I think matches up very well with Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman. The righties in the Dodgers lineup they do have some potent power, all those sort of things, but I don't know that I'm as concerned with anyone, not even close with Shohei Ohtani. And I think batting him first is really helpful and sets their lineup up, but I think he'd be much more dangerous lower in the lineup. And I think that's what you need in the playoffs. Whereas the stats and all that stuff matter in the regular season, especially when they're million miles ahead of most of their competition. But I think this is a really competitive series. And yeah, the different coasts is a travel thing, all that sort of stuff. And yes, winning a series already, but the Reds literally made the playoffs with losing on the final day because the Mets were just an absolute joke and got shut out in their finale. Uh, I of course famous last words, but essentially a road favorite or favorite without home field advantage, giving that away and having real bullpen questions. Whereas Juan Duran, I think, is one of the most trustworthy arms in baseball. He's certainly got some issues at times, but David Robertson has been lights out since coming off his couch to sign for the team. Matt Strom, I don't love. Orion Kerkering, I don't love. Tanner Banks, I think, has been really good this year. Trevino, we'll see because he was literally on the Dodgers roster earlier the year. Tim Mesa as an extra lefty is a concern, but had some good time in the past with the Blue Jays. Speaking of, um, I think, well, I guess, yeah, Jose Alvarado wouldn't be available anyway. I don't think Jordan Romano is going to come back in time for this. And it's been a long time since they played, but this is another underdog that I think. I mean, I guess I get it, but I'm still surprised. And then last will probably be the shortest portion of this episode, which we're already going super long. Like, how long are we? We're 38 minutes in, so not so bad, but yeah, bad. Anyway, last matchup we'll go to took forever to get announced who was going to pitch this matchup, but Trey Melton, San Diego State product, I believe, for the Tigers, got blasted in Game 2 of the loss against the Guardians, and has been up and down to say the least. Throws hard, but location's a concern. He's visiting Seattle, and George Kirby, who's getting the nod in Game 1 for the Mariners, which is a surprise for me, but they got a lot of options, and they also waited forever to announce, I think, because the Tigers didn't. A little tit for tat, if you will. Mariners haven't played for a while, but they also won a division because the rest of the teams in it completely collapsed. You could argue the Tigers were collapsing themselves, so I don't know. Amazing. The finish to the 2025 Major League Baseball season was literally nuts. And I'm glad that it happened because there were some very easy bets against the Tigers and such. But I do think this is a monstrous number. So plus 177 the Tigers, 197 minus 197, nearly $2 favorites in Seattle, which we haven't seen prices that high besides the Dodgers against the no chance Reds at home. Total in this one is 7, minus 115 to the under, so more juice there. And the series price, Mariners minus 188, the Tigers plus 164. Um, Seattle is a home run or bust team. I don't really know what the Tigers are at this point. They hit so well to start the year, won a bunch of games, even in cold weather in Detroit for sure. But bullpen's bad, I think, at this point. It's Will Vest and a bunch of who knows. And the Mariners, I mean, you can argue their park protects them a lot, but Matt Brash is awesome, and I really like Andres Munoz. So there's plenty of other questions throughout that, and I want to see if you're back in the Mariners, you do not want Emerson Hancock to pitch at all. But the rotation is also awesome, depending on how they divide that up. It looks like it's Kirby, Luis Castillo, and then Brian Wu. So Logan Gilbert's just not pitch. So clearly, no one has any clue what's happening here. Logan Gilbert has to be in here unless he's hurt, which I don't think I heard that. But Brian Wu, I think, is probably the prized arm that super young, has dealt with some arm issues over the past couple seasons that they don't want to have a concern with using him on short rest. So I think that's probably why they're saving him for game three. I think that was originally the plan. Um, Rush Research was showing Luis Castillo going game one, which didn't seem to make sense to me. But they've got a lot of good arms, and those starting rotation arms, I think, can be sliced and diced and used in the bullpen when needed. And I think that'll be very valuable for Seattle when they get past the Tigers. I do think Seattle is overpriced right now. I just don't know that I could feel any sort of way about wanting to back the Tigers because they are. I mean, they looked much better than the Guardians, but the Guardians miraculously won the Central, hadn't hit for an entire season pretty much, and did get some gifts slash Jose Ramirez getting thrown out at second base after. I mean, it was late. It was a big score difference, but jogging to second base, getting thrown out for one of the most amazing players in Major League Baseball. That was tough for from a Guardians better. That was really tough. As was game one, them stranding him on third base with no outs in the ninth inning. But that's what you're getting with the Guardians. So I'm glad they're gone because whoever won that series, I thought was going to lose this one. So the Guardians would too. Though the Guardians, I think, would be more tempting for me to back them in Seattle or in these type of games. Certainly not doing it for Trey Melton. And if I have no interest in backing a big underdog in game one, certainly not interested in the series price because it'll certainly get better and more juicy at 1-0 Seattle. It might get worse than that too. It could be a sweep. I don't like to put that out there because then when Tigers win and it's going to look really weird, but pitching chaos worked last year for the Tigers. They don't have a bullpen for it. I just think they're so limited that Seattle's pretty limited too. Good closing score back in the day. Sat for hours outside of it, wondering when my sister was going to finish shopping. But um, I don't know if there's much for me in the Detroit Tigers Seattle Mariners series. I'm trying to find some angles, but I guess I'll give an ultimate best bet. Try to cut that into some sort of reel tomorrow because I got to do an NFL one for Sunday with Andrew Schnicker. That's on this same Betting the Pitch podcast network, Apple Podcast, Spotify, on YouTube, of course. And then the soccer one that we always do. I'm going to have to do that as well. I gave that out earlier, just a couple hours ago, before I had dinner, I think. I don't know, my eating schedule is not great, but that's why I'm so fit or something. Just kidding. I think for my favorite pick on, I think I'll go with the futures price, and I'll go with the Blue Jays plus 127. I think the price is bigger than the Phillies. I like that one too. Um, and I think there's more interest for me in the long term there than there is in the Jays, just a minus 124. So that'll be my pick. Thank you for those of you that came live super late night heading into this. Joseph Tampion, thank you for your comment, of course. Appreciate that as well. And let's find some winners. I think we'll be back on a Monday baseball episode on pregame.com podcast network. I think jammed up against all college football and stuff tomorrow was difficult, but Thanks to all of you for coming in, and I'll put this up on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube shortly. And you can watch this and let me know what I got wrong when this all wraps up, I guess. But that's what this is about. And that's why I take underdogs so that I can hit 50% in profit. So I'll see you all soon. I'm going to go to sleep and get ready for some soccer in the morning. Hope you're all having a great evening. Throw back a tequila soda for me. We're watching our figure here. And I'll talk to you all soon.